Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Lashley Podcast. And today we have me, Ian, Lashley. We have Matt, the Honey Badger, Gottermeyer. And we are going to go over how to control mouth pleasure today. Right? Doesn't that sound amazing, mouth pleasure?
You certainly like bringing it up a lot. Why don't you tell us what mouth pleasure is?
So I was trying to find a definition, but basically what mouth pleasure would be like the sensation that you get from eating food, or the taste, the flavor. It could even be like the aroma, the smell,
texture. Yeah,
almost like a very sensational mouth pleasure,
okay,
right?
Yeah.
And so what we mean by this is we're going to talk about, right, everybody has to deal with food, right? It's a pretty common thing. Everybody knows about food. You know that you have to.
Right? Most people have heard of it. Yeah.
Well, do you enjoy mouth pleasure?
I do.
Okay. So, right, everybody has to eat it, and what we mean by this is a lot of people have trouble with eating bad food, right? But the thing is, though, when you eat bad food, what we mean by that it could be like cookies, cake.
Not being able to control it.
Not being able to control it leads to obesity, being fat, and so on and so forth, right?
Right.
So we just want to talk about, how can we, excuse me, how can we control this and just be healthier and better, and maybe have a nice healthy relationship with mouth pleasure.
Or we can just say food. A healthy relationship with food.
Healthy relationship with the food. Okay, I guess we can put it that way. So the four things we have today we're going to go over is eating when hungry versus being stressed, or Matt says eating out of boredom, which I really like that analysis. I think a lot of people struggle with stress and boredom eating. We have eating enough protein, talking about protein, the proper food, the recommendation of, how can you eat food to be full and make sure you're getting plenty of nutrients in your diet that's going to help with dealing with the temptation just to want to shove your mouth full of pleasure over and over again. And having the bad effects from eating too much bad food. And then hydration, right? Because hydration, we were just talking to somebody about this earlier. Water acts as almost as a suppressant to eating when you're probably not even hungry. You could just be thirsty, really, at the end of the day. But anyway, we're going to get into this more depth right now. So first, we're going to talk about eating when hungry versus stress or boredom. Matt, why don't you throw in on this? I like hearing you talk about this.
Wow.
No, you just put in really good terms. You do a really good job of this.
I mean, that's just something I talk to my clients about when they're talking about their habits with eating or their diet or whatever, how often they eat, when they eat, what they're eating. I feel like people confuse hunger with... They think they're hungry when they're really just bored or they have anxiety. You're at home from work, you're laying on the couch, you're watching TV. It just kind of feels like you should have something. Right? A bowl of chips, a bowl of ice cream. Maybe you're still eating from what you made for dinner or whatever.
Right.
If you ate enough and you ate the right foods and the way you should be eating all day long, you really shouldn't be hungry.
Right. And your body will, if you eat the proper stuff, you may feel more full during those times of temptation where it's like, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch TV, and all of a sudden you're pounding a bag of Doritos while you're watching TV. You may not have that sensation, if you actually eat the proper amount of nutrients, throughout the day, which we're going to get into. But then also tying it to habits, right? I mean, like a lot of people you talk about, if you watch TV, they'll tie it into, okay, I'm going to eat a bag of popcorn,
And I don't know how it got to this point.
Right.
But when I started fasting, and I do like 20 hours a day, 5 days a week, like it took me a while. I basically cut out dinner. And I always thought I was hungry, but as time went on, that's where I came up with this. I feel like, no, I was, probably for me, more anxiety. Right. Or boredom. I think our culture, everything we do, we eat.
Right.
Every occasion that there is.
It's tied around food.
Is with food. We have a business meeting, food. Your kid's having a birthday, food. You're watching the football game, food. Everything we do. And I think that's, at least probably part of the reason why people struggle with their weight.
Right, absolutely. It's just eating too much. Now, what would you recommend for people, to get over this? Because one of the things that helped me, which I still struggle with this, like eating for stress and boredom. I think mine's probably geared towards more anxiety too. Like what you said, slash boredom. I've done better getting the boredom part, but definitely anxiety. And I think one thing that helped me is just recognizing that. Right, that I mean, not like saying you're addicted to drugs or anything, but saying
there
like
was a point you thought you were addicted to sugar.
Well, right, and I was actually going to bring that up. Like, no, seriously, recognizing that, like, okay, like I have a problem. Like, I'm just eating because I'm anxious, or because like I'm just not doing anything, or you're. And then once again, this ties into I'd be craving sweets or something because you're not eating enough what you should be eating on a regular basis. But just I think recognizing that you have a problem, and and acknowledging, okay, I don't like. Do you really need to be eating this right now? I mean, just being that blunt about it sometimes will help you.
I think having something. Well, one, I think you have to have a certain amount of. I don't know if you want to call it like mental fortitude, like.
Right.
You can do this. If you put your mind to it, it's really not that big of a deal. But I also think like having something better to engage in than the television or the computer screen or the phone goes a long way, because your mind's not really doing anything. Right. But I don't think about it. I might start getting hungry in the middle of the afternoon, but once my clients and classes start coming in and I'm talking to people or running around with the kids, I'm not thinking about that at all. Have you ever noticed that? Yeah,
absolutely. Right? And I guess even when I get like engaged with work, like I do more pencil pusher stuff now, or whatever, my paperwork. But like once I really get more engaged with what I'm doing, that kind of goes away as far as the temptation of just wanting to eat. And I liked what you said too about having that mental thing. So I know what you do is you added in fasting, right? And that helps you deal with that. So like one thing that I added in too that I like similar is I do like, I know Monday through Friday is it's like non-negotiable. I'm not eating, I just say, sugar. Like obviously I know fruit has, I'm not trying to get this in detail into it, but yeah, like I am not eating any sugar or what I have in my mind of what I have like bad food. Like Monday through Friday, it's non-negotiable, and it's helped me a ton. Like, and I still struggle with it. Like, right, my wife's dad brought over like this big thing of cinnamon rolls for like the Amish store, and you'll be proud of me.
You didn't eat any?
I did not eat a single flipping cinnamon roll this week. But you don't know how hard it was for me, because normally it's sitting on the kitchen table. I'm like, I'll have one after dinner, have one during the day. Once again, like working, kind of. Could be getting kind of bored or burnt out. Eat a cinnamon roll. Eat a cinnamon roll. I did not eat one of those freaking cinnamon rolls all week this week.
and you survived.
And I survived, right? Correct. And I survived.
It's Friday now. Was it really that big of a deal?
It's not. You're right. It's not. Yeah. And like I know, and that's the thing, right? Like work to reward, right? I know Friday nights, I eat whatever I want, right? So my wife and I are going to go to Maz's tonight. I'm probably going to get spaghetti and meatballs. I'm probably going to eat a loaf of bread, and I'm cooking a piece of cake afterwards.
Probably stop at Witt's on the way home.
And
right?
Probably well, they're close, so it'll probably be Dairy Queen.
Well, whatever. Yeah. But what you're talking about and what I'm talking about with the fasting is kind of like setting guidelines, or if you want to call them rules.
Right.
And a lot of people think, well, I could never do that. I mean, I hear that all the time. Oh, you can do it, but I could never do that.
No, you can't. No, trust me. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Right. It's not like we're like me and you. We're just building up mental discipline, and you're like way better at it than I am. But like I struggle like really hard with it during the week.
Well, I mean, that's part of all this is dealing with what we struggle with in life.
Right.
Nicole did 75 hard this year, and then she wanted another challenge, so I kind of came up with something for her, and one of them was doing the exact same 20 hours a day.
Right.
And she did it. She set rules for herself, and she did it. Now, I had her do it for 30 days, and when the 30 days was over, she just went back to whatever.
Right.
Because she took those guidelines away from herself. But when she had them, she was fine. Right. If you can commit yourself to that.
Yeah. Now we're going to go ahead and move on. I thought that was a really important topic because I think that's like probably the number one thing that affects people, right? I mean, all this other stuff's important, but I mean, stress and boredom eating is like 100%. People have trouble with that. But we're gonna move on though. The next thing is protein, and we want to talk about how much protein should you eat in a day, Matt? How much carnivorous protein do you eat in a day?
Well, it's not all carnivorous.
Well, I know I was.
I don't know that I've ever figured out what I do personally, but I think in general, 50 to 70% of your body weight in grams of protein every day, depending on activity level and probably what you do for a living.
And that's what I recommend too, is about a half a gram to 0.75 of a gram of protein per body, per pound, which is roughly, it'll be about the same thing as what Matt's saying as well. It comes out to, and the protein is going to help curb hunger too.
Yes. Right.
If you eat the proper amount of protein in your diet, it'll do several things. It'll actually, help. It can help you, burn fat, but it's also going to help you curb your hunger, which is what we're getting to. This whole thing is right. If you can curb your hunger, you're not going to want to eat a 12-pack of cinnamon rolls or whatever.
Probably.
Probably.
And
right.
and there's a lot of people who don't, people come in and they tell you, I'm trying to lose weight, and you say, what are you eating? And I eat 10 almonds and 20 carrot sticks every day, and they think, well, that's how you lose weight.
Right.
You have to even, obviously, for building muscle, you want the protein, but for losing weight,
right,
you got to hit those numbers too. So.
Yeah. So next thing we have too is we talk about eating this kind of goes with it, right? Eating the proper food. Most places, like I know, like our CPT courses or whatever, they'll recommend roughly 2 to 3 servings of vegetables and fruit a day. And there, obviously, we can break down and say, you get the riboflavin, right? That's
riboflavin.
Riboflavin.
I don't even know what those are.
That's just an inside joke, but you get like all your vitamins, your minerals, and nutrients, from vegetables, from fruit, from eating the protein, eating complex carbohydrates, and stuff like that. So by consuming that, it'll help you deal with your mouth pleasure, your mouth pleasure sensations that you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Right. And the idea also behind vegetables is that it satiates you. Well, you kind of just brought that up.
Satiates, I like
you
that.
Like that. That's a big word.
Yeah, I like that, little daddy.
It's supposed to make you full, right? To maybe curb, like you said, the snacking and all that. It also helps with the digestion, which is obviously a huge part of losing weight.
Right. Right, with fiber. And the last thing we have is hydration, baby. Drinking water acts as an appetite suppressant, right?
Yep.
Think so? Yep. So, just making sure you stay plenty hydrated. It helps you with muscle recovery. It's going to help you burn fat. And it's going to help you have an overall...
Cleans out your system. Also huge for weight loss.
Lubricates your insides.
Yes.
Right. So, just being properly hydrated is going to help you. I think it helps me just feel better in general. Like if I don't hardly drink water enough a day, I just kind of feel like garbage. Right.
Yeah, and I think, what do you recommend? Like,
I just tell people easy.
Ounces.
Yeah, I just say a gallon of water.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the correct thing is a half an ounce. I literally think it's like I think it's a quarter of an ounce to a half an ounce per pound, roughly, which is roughly going to come out, minimally like a gallon of water. I know
And do you think you get that every day?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I minimally drink a gallon of water every day. I mean, I try to, I don't have an exact amount, but I know, like, okay, I drink roughly this many bottles of water.
You don't have one of those bottles that tells you to keep going and you can get it, girl, and all the little motivational markers all the way up to the top.
Yeah. No, I like those. I think those are great for people. People used to make, not I was saying they make fun of me or whatever, but in high school, like I'd literally walk around, high school and have a gallon jug of water.
That you took to school?
Yeah, every day in school. Yeah, my whatever, my friends, whatever would, they think it'd be funny because they draw they draw like a wiener on the side of it, and like a Sharpie marker and stuff like that when I was in school or whatever. But yeah, no, minimally a gallon of water. I just think it'll definitely help you. I mean, like if you drink like pop or something on a regular basis, like try it. Like let's say you drink a 12-pack of Coke every day, right? Drink your 12-pack of Coke, but add in trying to drink like a half a gallon of water. Like, I bet you'll feel like 100% different. Then we should start working on taking the Coke out.
After that, take the Coke out, you feel a whole lot
right.
different.
But small changes, right? Small changes. But
I mean, if you could recommend to people lose one thing right away, what would it be?
Lose one thing?
Yeah, out of your diet.
Any kind of liquids that are calorie dense. So, pop. Yeah.
To me, that's the first thing.
And I think too. I don't know how you feel about this, but switch to diet, right? I'm not diet right. Like, I know there's a brand Diet Right, but just switch to a diet, because if you're drinking, it's a hard process. It's literally like sugar creates dopamine triggers, and so like if you have to have it, switch to drinking diet pop until you can start slowly, and then cut down one can at a time or one bottle, whatever.
Yep.
So thank you for listening today. This is the Lashley Podcast. Remember, whatever you do, it's going to echo into eternity, baby. So live life to the fullest. If you believe it, you can achieve it. And thanks for listening, everybody.